Vera in Colorado. Vera, you're live with Eric and V.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
What would you like to talk about today?
Hello. Well, I just kind of wanted to put my own 2 cents in regards to theism, my theism, and what I believe and kind of how I believe it.
Okay. Perfect. Wow.
So I'm. Thank you. So I was, to give some background, I'm Italian, an Italian American, and so I was baptized Roman Catholic. When we moved permanently to the United States, my mom was into paganism and Wicca, and so I was never actually ever forced to go to church or anything or follow any particular religion, because kind of following in my mom's footsteps, I'm one that just kind of believes in a higher power, but not necessarily a specific image of what it is or a specific type. It's more fluid. I'm one that believes that as you go through life, you know, the higher power just kind of, you know, is there and you experience it throughout your life, how you do. And kind of, you know, I know a lot of people do the, oh, thank God phrase, and people who are like to pick on atheists are like, but you don't believe in God. Why are you saying that? That's more of just like an expression. Whereas I think my belief is more fluid, in which it's not so much expressed outwardly, but more inward, like as you are as a person inside.
Sure. Can I ask you a question about that? Does it matter to you if that deity actually exists, or is it more useful to you as kind of a personal philosophy to follow?
For me, I would say it's more of a personal philosophy, not necessarily that it can, you know, tangibly exist. There is no proof of that. So where there's the difference between belief and evidence, I do agree with that. That belief is more personal to one person. Evidence is what can be shown and proven to everyone. But I think also that personal experiences growing up in life may have also led to it being more of like a personal belief so much, or philosophy, as you put it. But my mom is typically the same way as well. My grandmother was actually an atheist, and my great-grandmother was a devout Roman Catholic. So we haven't necessarily followed like
devout Roman Catholic atheist.
Well, actually, devout Roman Catholic, and then spiritual but not religious kind of movie, and then
Well, Vera, first, I resonate with that a lot. I have a lot of friends who are like, it seems that Catholicism, and especially for some reason, like Italian American Catholicism, tends to move very much into that paganism kind of spiritual but not religious folklore element, where you start incorporating things from, you know, your family and your culture, and just like building kind of your own religion out of it with maybe Catholicism as a base. So that is very familiar to me. I totally understand where you're coming from there. Can you give me an example of how this belief in a higher power impacts your choices in life? Like what does this belief in a higher power compel you to do or not do, if anything?
Well, I mean, I think it's more fluid and based on the person in that sense. Like for me, the belief in a higher power has made me make sure I think back to previous experiences. Belief in a higher power at times just gives me motivation to keep going, because I just keep in mind that everything is fluid and it may not stay like this all the time. Okay. And so that's, if anything, it's kind of giving me motivation to keep going, especially because I have like a lot of medical problems and things like that. But I don't necessarily let it make the decision.
Right. Can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So my reason for asking that is that based on the way you presented it, I kind of assumed that it probably wasn't a motivating factor in your life in some kind of external way. Oh, I need to vote like this because the higher power tells me to, or I can't interact with this person because the higher power tells me to. I get that. And in your case, honestly, we don't have a disagreement necessarily. We would disagree on like, you know, the value of proving things. But as a person, like, I don't see a need to try and compel you to think differently outside of the fact that while you seem to be a really good person who is using this in as healthy a way, I guess, as a belief in a higher power can be, as kind of the just general coping mechanism, there are other people who use this kind of a thinking, a thought process. Oh, there's a higher power out there and I don't need to prove it, but I believe in it anyway, to justify some really horrible things. So for me, my problem is not with you at all. My problem is with the idea that we can justify actions based on an unjustified basis. Does that make sense?
It does, and I will adding to that because my biological father actually used the same basis, as you said. He was not one of the good cookies, we'll say, and was very cult-like, like a cult leader. Mm-hmm. And so when my mom kind of like realized, I mean, mind you, she wasn't from the United States. You know, she didn't come here till she was 27. So mm-hmm. cults and things like that in Italy weren't very greatly educated on, you could say. Yeah. But so when she realizes this, that's when she went away because I would say she agrees with you that someone can use it for their own personal, vengeance or plans or greed. And it does happen, unfortunately. And I do agree with that.
It absolutely does. And sometimes it's not even necessarily
an intentional thing.
Yeah. Or it's not necessarily vindictive or bad. I mean, an example for me was I believe that there was some kind of collective unconscious that was this kind of network. Yeah. This mesh that kind of filled the world, man. And
tap into it.
But the thing is there's a whole line of products that you can buy if you believe in that.
Right, to help you tap into that a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, that led me to do a good number of drugs to try and tap into that because I was told that would unlock mm-hmm. my third eye. Yeah. And there are so many things like that, if people go too far, you're right, they could not take medicine, which could be dangerous. Right. There's an entire anti-vax section of the United States that kind of fits that bill. But it's because of that, some people say, why would you take this away from me, right? Why is it so bad if I believe in just something? Mm-hmm. I remember I was on a road trip with my ex-wife, and she was talking about star signs. And she was talking about it for about an hour or two. And I said, that's all BS, right? And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, they're called Barnum statements. What's that? And so she spent about 45 minutes on her phone. Then she started crying. Oh. And she said, Eric, that was really meaningful to me. It feels like you killed my puppy. Like, that was something really important to me. And I get that, people will reach out and be like, you damn atheists, why won't you leave that alone? Because when you're not wanting the best evidence for what you believe, those are leaving open threads that people can take advantage of.
Right.
And on top of that, I think that you could be disempowering yourself. There are plenty of people who believe in a higher power and use that higher power when they say that they went through Alcoholics Anonymous and quit. When they did it, and they should be damn proud of it.
Yeah.
So many people who yeah. And so because of that, I challenge you, Vera, if it doesn't seem like it matters too much whether or not it's real, then try and see if you can own some of those things, because having a purpose, I guarantee you, Vera, is way more important when you give it to yourself than when you think that somebody else gave it to you. Because when you achieve it, there's a sense of victory that just does not compare to anything else. And the idea.
I would agree with that. And I wouldn't necessarily say that a higher power is what gives you purpose. For me, like I said, it's more fluid than that. It's more like just kind of motivation. I know that I create my own purpose in life. I have a purpose, and everything I've done, I've been through and I've managed to survive through because I'm the one who went through it. But I kind of think of the higher power and the times in which it was hard to keep going and I had lost motivation for myself, because, we can't all be at 100% logical brained all the time. I kind of used the motivation of a higher power as in, okay, I've been through something like this before and I made it through. I had to keep pushing and I'll keep doing it again. Type of kind of like motivational, not so much as giving me my destiny or purpose in life.
Okay.
It sounds like that higher power is you then. I think that's awesome.
Well, I didn't want to come out and say it, but if we want to get labeling on that, I won't complain. I can't walk on water or baptized by the Pope, but that's about as holy as I ever got.
At that point, I think we're probably going to move on to the next call. But Vera, this was really sweet, and I hope this conversation helped in some way.
Thank you. It does. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you. You as well.
Does this mean we actually talk to a higher power on the phone on Talk Heathen?
I do not want to put that out there because I've had so many theists call or want to talk to me and say, you just want to be your own God. And that's what's going to get clipped. Like that clip
right there
is what's going to get clipped and taken out of context.
Fuck it. I'm fine with that.